Okay, it's 1988. It's Christmas Eve. And I'm standing... there we go. I'm standing on the station. I just switched the mic on. And I'm standing on the platform of the Patch Oak train station for a train that I don't think is ever going to come. And it's snowing, and it's beautiful. Earlier that evening, I'd been at my friend Juan Downey's house. Juan was a video artist, a brilliant video artist and painter, and really, really dear friend. And he was one of my mentors. He was one of the people I cared about most in the world. And he and Mary Elise, his wife, had invited me out to this. Well, they had a place on 26th Street and 6th, but they bought this little shack of a house in Patch Oak, Long Island. I have no idea why. I don't remember anymore. And it was on Christmas Eve, and I didn't know at the time why they invited me out. And anyway, we ate a little, and then we drank a lot, and then we did some cocaine, and then we drank some more, and then we did some more cocaine, and then we smoked some hash, and then we did some cocaine, and then we looked at some art books, and we did some cocaine. We spent the rest of the evening talking really big. I remember at one point taking this book off the shelf, a contemporary art catalog, I don't remember what it was, and showing it to Juan and saying, "Is this even art?" And Juan, without even a beat, said, "Well, of course it's art. It's just not any good at all." And this was Juan. I mean, he was a mentor, and I really, really loved him. So I had been there. I'm on the train station. I am pretty fucked up. And I'd missed the train. And it was, it was actually Christmas Day now, because it was well after 1, 2 in the morning. The first funeral I'd been to that week was a few days earlier. And it had been for a guy who I had worked with at the Strand bookstore, which was my first job in New York City, having moved here from Minneapolis. And he worked in the art department at the Strand. He wore a lot of leather. Nice guy. Anyway, so here's the thing. I had to be, to the second funeral I had to go to that week, on Christmas Day, 11 o'clock that day, in Philadelphia. Because I was going to be the Shiva Goy, which this is a room full of New Yorkers, so I probably don't have to explain this, but it's Nani, the grandmother, my girlfriend's grandmother in Philly, had died. And the Shiva Goy is the person who is the non-Jewish person who handles the money and takes those endless trays of kugel and sets them out, and makes sure that stools are set and the mirrors are covered and all that sort of stuff. And I'd been pressed into service for this. So I had to be there at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I wanted to be there. It mattered to me quite a bit. I liked Nani. She had died of cancer and old age instead of in her 20s and 30s like everybody else seemed to be doing. And so I really, really felt it was important to make it. But about dawn, the train showed up in Patch Oak. Now, if I had just enough time to get home, shower, shave, pack a bag, make my way to Penn Station, and meet my friends who had a car in Philly and were going to drop me at the house at 11 so that I could fulfill my duties. I got home and I made this really big mistake. I took off my shoes, I sat down in a chair that seemed a perfectly good place to sit for just a moment, and I woke up 2 hours later. And it was that, oh God, fuck, God, hell, fuck, wake up immediately, and I have really fucked up. I made a really big mistake. I had 20 minutes to get the train from dead sleep. So I got out of the chair, threw whatever was black into the bag, sprinted out, hit the sidewalk, 19th Street, Broadway, Christmas morning, snow, absolutely gorgeous, and 100% cab free. Not one, just nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And I sprint and I run down to 6th Avenue, over to 6th Avenue, and I hail what I am convinced is the only cab that was operating at that time in the morning in New York. Scream up 6th, over to 8th, Penn Station. Give a 20 to the cab driver. Cab driver says, "You have to get change." And he turns around and looks at me, and there's absolute, complete, insane panic in my eyes. And he hands me the 20 back and says, "Merry Christmas." Aww. And I run, and I swear I know this is a story, and people invent things all the time. I got onto the train just as the doors were closing behind me.
Yay!
Okay, so I'm going through the train. I am sweating whiskey and everything else. I find my friends who have taken those seats in the train. You push them aside so you can sit across from each other, that kind of thing. They sit down. I'm just totally exhausted, and I'm nearly crying from the effort of making this 20-minute run from 19th and Broadway onto a train. My friends are like looking at me. Well, anyway, I put my feet up on the other seat, and I look down, and I'm wearing one black cap-toed Oxford shoe and one brown motorcycle boot, and I know for a fact I have not packed any shoes in my bag because I did it quick and I did it dumb, right? So I fall asleep on the plane with my friends, trying unsuccessfully not to laugh at me. So I get to the house. They drop me off at the Udell household in Philadelphia. And I go up and I ring the bell. Robin, my girlfriend's kid sister, comes to the door, opens the door, looks at me and says, "Robin, Steven's here and he doesn't look very good." Because I realize now I look like I'd done exactly what I'd done. Anyway, Robin's father, Larry, who, he wasn't the size of a refrigerator, he was the size of the carton the refrigerator comes in. He was really big, very, and they both came to the door and were looking at me, and the only thing I could think of to say was, "Larry, do you have any shoes I could borrow?" And they both looked down, and then he looked up at me and he said, "You know, I don't think anybody's going to notice." And for just that split second, I thought he might be right. And then, of course, he totally, completely cracked out. So his shoes actually fit pretty well. And I fulfilled my duties for the Christmas Day funeral for Nani pretty well. I really liked her. She was, you know, old and mean and sharp and funny. And I had really liked her. So, well, I was helped through this because after shaving and showering and taking care of all that stuff, we raided her painkiller supply, including, she was dead after all, so what was she going to use it for? So she had quite a few painkillers, including some Dilaudid, which I do have to say made the next few months a hell of a lot easier, considering the number of funerals that I had to go to. Juan died on June 6th, 1993. And this is the first time I've spoken to a crowd like this since his memorial. This kind of isn't about trains anymore, I think.
It's about journeys.
Of course. I was thinking of... I really lost it for a moment. I apologize.
Title of the story.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My wife asked me if Martha... My wife said, what if Martha asks you for what is the title to this story? And I realized that I don't have one, because doing a kind of Jim Carroll list of, you know, people who died seems really depressing even now. But I would like, in memory of Juan and Nani and everybody else who passed subsequent to that, to read a quote from Tim O'Brien. And sometimes remembering will lead to a story which makes it forever. That's what stories are for. Stories are for joining the past to the future. Stories are for those late hours in the night when you can't remember how you got from where you were to where you are. Stories are for eternity, when memory is erased, and there's nothing to remember except the story. Thanks.
Bravo.